Good morning and welcome to the special edition of Dr. Lamba's Awakening, called the special Saturday edition. Somehow or the other, I feel that the politicians all over the world are birds of a feather, seeking to divide people, create conditions which are conducive to such a situation that they can strengthen their stranglehold on the people. In India, there is a law called the Indian Penal Code. This is the system of the laws under which the people are punished. And this is an archaic code. As a matter of fact, way back in 1926, it was thought to amend the code. It has not happened. And India's problem has been that too many sweeping and fully defined laws make the life of an ordinary citizen hell. And the government of the state of Punjab has approved an amendment which makes the confusion of the situation worse confounded. It enhances socio, cultural, and legal embargo confusion that should not have been there. What they have done is that they have amended the Indian Penal Code and inserted one addition to the IPC, Indian Penal Code. The addition is in section 295AA. And it reads that whosoever causes injury is always which leads to blood, trauma, and may require medical treatment. So whosoever causes injury, damage, or sacrilege to Guru Granth Sahib, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Holy Quran and Holy Bible, with the intention to hurt the sentiments of the people, shall be punished for life, imprisonment of life. As a matter of fact, last year in March 2016, the Kali government had passed a similar amendment, which was rejected by the federal government because that pertained only to the Sikh holy book. So this was a perverse interpretation of secularism. So Punjab government has thought it proper that why only Sikh religious book? The religious book of all the four religions should be included. Now, what damage have the other religions done? You include Bible, Quran, Bhagavad Gita, and Holy Granth. What about Torahs? They are holy to them as well. So, the law of the system of equality before law is damaged. And then, moreover, let's forget the sense of discrimination. It's a dangerous precedent. By advocating life imprisonment or something as nebulous as a sentiment is akin to the blasphemy laws of Pakistan, which have led to the abuse and persecution of the innocent people. Now, when you say cause injury or damage or sacrilege, how do you define an injury? Tearing a page? Then what's the difference between injury and damage? Sacrilege is insulting. Somebody speaks badly and you say it's a sacrilege. After all, this is a matter of interpretation. What is sacrilege for you may not be sacrilege for me. For me, each book, whether it's a novel by Dickens or Thackeray or an artwork by Baudelaire or by Leo Tolstoy or whatever writer may be, is as important as any other book. They all contain knowledge. Yes, There's more emotional attachment to them. But does emotional attachment mean that anybody causing injury or damage or sacrilege should be imprisoned for life? On the one side, we are saying make the laws more humane. On the other side, we are sending people to jail for just injuring a life. As a matter of fact, Punjab government is playing a very dangerous game. And its move seems to have a support across the political spectrum because all the four religions have been covered. But suppose other states take recourse to the same thing, the same religious populism. How would India be different than Pakistan? Like terrorism, freedom of speech is indivisible. Laws privileging hurt sentiments over constitutionally guaranteed freedom of speech lend them to abuse. It's an anathema to the secular society and destroy the society from within. Now, what will happen? Nobody will undertake research on these books because the researcher can say something which may not be acceptable to the strictly Brahminical or the priestly class. And then they might say, well, your research is sacrilegious, so you should be sent to jail. We have seen in Pakistan the progressive strengthening of anti-blasphemy laws during the 70s. And it was a toxic combination of intolerance and authoritarianism. Does India want to go the same way? And that's why the responsibility of the Modi government shall be much more important. To reject this amendment and not accept it. Reject it the same way they have rejected Badal's suggestion to punish. As a matter of fact, that was a wrong rejection. They should have rejected no. It is not acceptable. It goes against the constitutional guarantees. For example, books like Guru Granth, and I'm talking about Guru Granth because that happens to be a book of a religion to which I have been born in. It's a sacred not only for its content, but because it expresses the highest truth about the reality. The Sat in Ekamkar Satnam combines the truth and the existence. But in the Sikh tradition, the book is also treated iconically. It's an icon. Elaborate rituals with a sacred treatment. And the result is that there is no research. That is why, if you see the research conducted on the Bible compared to Quran, but Quran has had more research as a matter of fact. So compared to Gita and Granth, you would find that the Gita and Granth have not been researched that much. By using the state power to enforce the sacred, defiles the sacred. And then, this defiles the books, as I said, the eternity of the word. Because the status of the now book is dependent on the state power. If the song of Krishna, the word of Muhammad, and the teachings of the gurus, does it need the permission of the government to secure their sacredness? Would the governments and the police be the custodians of the sanctity of these books? Rather than being luminous, potent, and transparent, their status is now reduced to a section of the Indian Penal Code. It defiles those texts more power. It gives the defilers more power. Well, this is as bad as, I've seen the protesters trampling on the national flag and they are arrested and punished. In India, outside, they cannot be done. But in India, what happens? Maximum punishment is 1 year, not life. So, you are bringing these holy books which you venerate, which you respect, to the level of being in the hands of the uneducated policemen who would use their personal animosity to that. And the sacrilege of the book is not burning. The reality is, this law is the biggest insult to those books. Are you saying that the books can be defiled by some rearrangement or even by burning a book? How is it defiled? How is it insulted? And then, this goes against the spirit of the preamble of the Constitution that we are a secular country. A liberal state needs two sensibilities. First is that many good things are good and derive their authentic and meaning because there is no force behind them. The second, that my belief and faith, even if not entirely correct, do not provide sufficient ground for the police and the state to use its force to enforce them. The use of the force to enforce the sanctity of a book inserts the book, and that must not be done. It's a piece of illiberal and dangerous nonsense. And if I respect something, it does not give sufficient warrant to the state to enforce that belief or sentiment on others. Religious sentiment need not be illiberal, but they become illiberal the moment state enforces it. The anti-blasphemy laws have become so nauseating because of that very factor, that it was the state enforcing them. And this law is deeply authoritarian. The idea of a life imprisonment for act of an injury to a book is neither about deterrence nor about piety. It only shows that the state has the power. That's it. It is essentially representative of a dictatorial and totalitarianism. And then, they have tried to show that they are giving importance to each religion equally, and includes texts like Bhagavad Gita. Now, Bhagavad Gita is not one major book of Hinduism. Puranas are equally important. Vedas are much more important. So why leave them? The idea that the state will now create a new liturgy around the text in the same way as Adi Granth and Quran. They have selected one book out of many books which are equally important. And then Hinduism has various sects. They have their own books. So what do you do with them? As a matter of fact, the state is taking over the right to define the significance of these texts in some way. It is converting the text to what it has never been. The state has no right to interfere or interject in them. And in case some book is insulted or burned or then the present law is sufficiently strong there to take effect. Why create a law? And then, thinking, look at another life imprisonment. Do you know what's the tragedy of Sikhism? And I can say it because I'm born in a Sikh family. The tragedy of the modern Sikhism is the religion of extraordinary religious piety and wondrous detachment has become internally intolerant. Part of this is political. Look at SGPC. They want to maintain their monopoly on the religious organizations as much as possible. And Sikh scholars don't want to research because they are afraid that in case they say something different, they'll be bullied and harassed. I have known scholars who will not write critically of intra-Sikh politics for fear of anger and injury to them. You see, often the issue is simple, that the scholarship dealing with the character is considered sacrilegious. And then another aspect, the courts have held, I'm now giving an historical example, that Baswa Vachan, when it was interpreted and rearranged, It was offenses to the Lingats in Karnataka. So the court said, no, that's not proper. Who are they? This religious scholar who has done something, he has rearranged some verses, and you call it wrong. Given this context, any law empowering a state to give life imprisonment is only creating an environment of fear. And in that environment of fear, they can do any damn thing. The political class is actually legitimizing this infringement on liberty, which must not be there. They have a political purpose. And the political purpose is to win the election and have the votes. But they are using that purpose to destroy the Indian liberal democracy. It's very simple. Now, what has happened is that the Congress and AAP are both legitimizing religious sentiment, as itself is a valid argument. Just think of Ayodhya. But when the government in power, by whichever party it may be, caves in, comes, surrenders to some nebulous argument about the religious sentiment, does not make us destroy both religion and state. It also produces political cowardice of the highest order, and India is no stranger to the cowardice. Let's be very clear. Politically, Indian leaders are the most cowardly people. For the sake of popular control, they'll even go to the extent of supporting the so-called godmen because they control the votes. And they would turn their eyes when the Khap Panchayats hang people. Here they are legitimizing that Khap Panchayats and bringing them on parity with them, and thereby delegitimizing the sacredness. As a matter of fact, the people should rise that the government has no right to destroy the real sanctity of the book. If a book is sacred, to whatever religion it may belong, it can never be insulted. Let's be sure about that. I hope either the federal government would reject this amendment, or the Supreme Court suo moto shall take cognizance and declare it ultra vires, but it goes against the very preamble of the Constitution and promotes something which is vociferous, which is divisive, which is harmful. Thank you.